Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, August 13th, and we've got some quests to do. Now, oddly, I don't have 3 quests on the Americas account because I got a little bit ambitious and decided to play a little bit extra to see if maybe these new HS replay decks have some win ratios that could get me above rank 20. There's definitely still a lot of weirdness going on, particularly as somebody who's around rank 20. I still very much believe that if you were playing as much as Cripperian or Disguised Toast or any other streamer who just plays Hearthstone non-stop all day every day, basically you play more often, and that gets you the percentage of wins needed to get you higher. But also, those people all have gotten up to like legendary, and they only fall down to rank 10. And I think the game is a lot different at rank 10 than it is rank 20. And I don't mean that it's just harder, I think it's more predictable. I think when you get down to these low level ranks, which I've never really pulled myself out from, nor really even cared to, you're playing with so many people that are playing so many random decks that even if you're trying to play a strategy, you're gonna lose a lot. And I'm not sure you can really pull all the way from rank 20 to legendary or even rank 10 with a reasonable free-to-play collection of cards. I think you're just always behind the wire. I need to win a game with Rogue Warrior, and I need to deal 65 damage to an enemy hero. Let's look and just make sure that this is still saying coming in 2 weeks. It was saying 2 weeks probably a week ago, so it needs like a better descriptor. Again, Hearthstone failing to tell you basic facts accurately about what day. So Rogue Warrior games, HS replay, standard play. Quest Warrior I don't think would work too much, so let's try Death Rattle Rogue and jump in here. So I finished playing Layers of Fear, which yay, I suppose. It's always nice to finish a game. Layers of Fear, I don't know why it was so overhyped, other than it has that Five Nights at Freddy's style of jump quests and jump scares in it. And if I ever needed more confirmation that I really should cover the Five Nights at Freddy's series, or if I am going to cover it, it's going to be from a very, very different perspective. Playing Layers of Fear certainly made me realize that, because there was literally nothing in it that scared me. But to be fair, there's literally nothing in almost any game that scared me. I think Condemned Criminal Origins was the only game that got me at any point to actually feel a level of fear. Most games, Dead Space, you're not supposed to be afraid while playing Dead Space. You're supposed to be empowered. You're seeing grotesque imagery, certainly, but you're not supposed to actually feel fear and want to like pause the game or stop playing the game. But to focus on Layers of Fear, they were just doing jump scares and nothing else. I will say the Inheritance DLC, which I also covered, seems like it is a complete 2.0 version of the main game. And had they done the had you played the Inheritance DLC before you played the main game, that might be a little bit better, because there's actual better voice acting and a lot more in the Inheritance DLC, a lot more characterization in comparison to the main game, where it's almost all just built around picking up things on pieces of paper and reading some story into the pieces of paper you're reading, and even then it doesn't really give you a lot of stuff. I think they overly committed to having 3 different endings, none of which feel like they really make a lot of sense, nor is it really a fair way to determine the ending you're getting. Instead of being enabled to pick your ending, you really just have to find certain collectibles for one ending and avoid certain other collectibles for another ending. It's not particularly a good system at all.
Justice is mine.
Let's see. So, yeah, the Layers of Fear was quite the disappointment. It really is just slightly, barely one step above what I see almost on a daily basis on Steam as far as these horror games where you're walking around the spooky, you're walking around the spooky house and there's
such a price for power.
Let's see, summon a minion with attack less than this minion's. Well, that would be a 3. Or summon a 1/1 copy from a minion in your hand. I'll take that. And we'll do that. Then we'll end the turn. Some really easily overlooked puzzles could have been added to Layers of Fear. For instance, it's a game about painting, and yet there's never a key carved into a paintbrush. There's never a color mixing puzzle of primary colors or anything like that. There's never any kind of like fluid puzzle. You'd think maybe you'd have to move paint through tubes or something to raise a cork with a key on it or something like that. Like, definitely once you just know the idea that it's based on the concept of a painting, there was something more that could have been done.
Backstab.
Oh. Well, summoning a 1/1 copy of this, summoning a 1/1 copy of this, summoning a 1/1 copy of this. I guess that potentially could go in circles, couldn't it? So yeah, pretty disappointed with Layers of Fear, and then I went on to play The Seventh Guest, which I played all the way through that. If I wasn't frustrated with the 20-year-old game, The Seventh Guest, playing it through the Scumvium emulator, which it seems like if you just click go on Steam, it runs the Scumvium emulator anyway, so I used a newer version. It didn't really fix the fact that there's an original bug in the game. So, like, that original bug is still totally present and obviously still acts as a bug. Let's see. I want to probably do this so that I can do
Justice
this.
is mine.
Why did I only do that once?
Wow, well played.
Quickly.
Well, I guess I can't do anything else, so I'll end the turn. The Seventh Guest is just a really, really old game, but it is a point-and-click adventure game too, so Although it's not a item involving point and click adventure, instead it's really, I don't know if you really even would classify as a point and click adventure. It's such an early example of that where let's try that again, see how well this deck really can play. You wander around the spooky mansion, you find puzzles, you do the puzzles. When you solve the puzzle, you're shown a cutscene. After you've done a certain number of puzzles or specific puzzles, you unlock more rooms in the mansion. They just magically unlock, and those rooms then lead to more puzzles. And you do those puzzles, and you do that 3 or 4 times until finally you're at the last puzzle, and then you're given a horribly tacked on ending that is like a good ending for no reason whatsoever. Now the reason I wanted to play the 7th Guest is because there's a fan licensed or license approved fan made sequel to the 7th Guest. Or sequel, I guess, to the 11th Hour, which is the sequel to the 7th Guest. That was kickstarted and is supposedly coming out during Halloween. It's called the 13th Doll. It looks very good. It does not suffer from the terrible graphics and full motion video that you would have had to have lived with in the 7th Guest. The graphics are so bad, so bad. Speaking of graphics, it did open the opportunity now that YouTube like shifts video around to whatever resolution it thinks is right for you, or for your video. I could have recorded that game at 640 by 480 instead of 1080p. However, OBS just doesn't really work that way. It would require changing settings in a internal manner that really wouldn't help anything. So yes, if you had a 620 by 480 resolution for some reason on your screen, I have no idea why you would have that, but if you had that, you would, and I recorded it at the right resolution without the black bars on the side, you would have seen it would display that correctly. But for anybody who's more realistically got a 1080p screen or maybe a 720p screen, you're still gonna get black bars on it, and the way, and it's just not worth it to switch back and forth with every game.
Such a price for power.
So yeah, that's just not something that I'm going to do. This is interesting. Interesting death rattle to steal. Certainly. Well, I could kill this guy. Well, I could not. Yeah, 7th Guest's puzzles sometimes bugged, sometimes really difficult. There is a way if you go to the hint book that is not explained. Like, nothing in the game is explained. There's literally no explanation of what time frame you're in or why you as the character are there. That is actually, I guess, revealed as a spoiler at the very end of the game. But you really don't have any other reason to exist. You're seeing all these ghosts of this house party that happened in the past, where there was 6 guests and a mysterious 7th guest, and the 6 guests all eventually, I guess, die. although it's kind of hard to be 100% certain if that actually is the case at all. That isn't. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that that actually was the case. That every single person did die. And they kind of die in just cutscenes after you solve the puzzles, so the puzzles don't really relate to anything. The Seventh Guest was probably extremely groundbreaking for introducing or pushing full motion video, which was a big thing for PC gaming at the time, and introducing concepts of like having actors and having a story written and have voice acting and the special effects and things that normally would have been too expensive to include in a game. And the Seventh Guest is kind of a great example of that, where in all actuality it could have just been a DOS-based collection of puzzles, because that's the only actual gameplay there. They could cut out the wandering around the 3D house and the cutscenes pretty easily. The puzzles don't run greatly. I don't know if that is because of ScumVM or what, but you often will make one or two moves, and then it will tell you that you're taking too long, and it shouldn't be taking all night.
There once was a man from Gildan.
Let's see.
We hunger for vengeance.
There we go.
The end has come.
If I could just play 3 cards, 4 cards, I've got 2 more that would come out of being dormant. So yeah, I could play the 11th Hour, the sequel, which I think would be a lot better, but I was just so frustrated with those so frustrated with those things anyways. So this,
Try your luck.
this, and this.
You shiny.
Spectacular.
And let's play this just for. Oops. Interesting. One of these guys was not this card. The way they've programmed it, anything that goes dormant comes back as the Sherazam Corpse Flower. That is interesting.
Titus is mine.
That is also not the card I meant to play, though. Alright, well, that's the catch-up of what I'm doing. Next thing I plan on playing is Goosebumps Point-and-Click Adventure. The reason for that is just because I would like to play one kid's spooky game in Halloween. Also, Goosebumps is one of those search engine optimization. I guess we'll just keep riding this train and play Rogue. Unlike the RPG Halloween trick-or-treat games that we've done for the past couple years of Costume Quest, I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for games that would be kid-friendly. So next year, in Halloween month, if I even make it to next year, which that's certainly saying a lot in itself, the point and click adventure section may just be full of adult oriented and focused horror games. There really is no explanation or way of splitting this up too, since we've merged those 2 time slots to the point where now, like, the 7th guest really is fine for any 10-year-old to watch. It's old cartoony horror things, like what you would imagine a haunted house would be if it's a haunted house designed for 10-year-olds.
Justice is mine.
Spooky clowns, things like that. Not terrifying, terror-inducing, like realistic things that are gonna lead to giving your kids nightmares. Although, you know, a kid may get nightmares even from a haunted house of just, you know, Casper, ghosts in white sheets type stuff. So you always have to know your own kid and see what their level of fear they're willing to engage
Justice is mine.
and expand their, I guess, mental horizons with. Speaking of expanding horizons, here's a nice transition. Always point out your transitions. YouTube's Team YouTube tweeted, "We're experimenting with a new shelf on YouTube's homepage to show you videos from your latest subscriptions. Watch the latest Creator Insider to learn more, and then comment on the video to give our team your thoughts." So basically, YouTube is experimenting with adding something that used to be on YouTube a very long time ago, which is you actually see your own subscriptions on the home page instead of having to click on the subscriptions tabs and filter through that. This, I guess, should be applauded. Taking a step back and realizing you were doing the right thing years ago might be the right move, but also it feels like half of these experiments are designed to fail and just give them more evidence in their mind to say, yeah, we tried this, it didn't work, when they really didn't try it. Like, a shelf on the homepage, I would say, is still not enough. The homepage should be at least 50% videos that you previously signed up and wanted to see. Alright, do I want to attack with this? No, I'll just end my turn here. But I can't, as much as I hate YouTube and everybody hates YouTube, at least right now, for the second, you have to applaud them. YouTube is almost like the example of the worst child, the problem child that you could have, where they're always doing something wrong and you're just at the level where you're like, we've got to just praise him when he does good things. We've got to start them down the path of wanting to do the right thing instead of always doing the wrong things. We're not anywhere close to making the argument of not doing the wrong thing, but we can praise him when he occasionally, on very rare occasions, does the good things. I guess that on the other side is an interesting thought about the prison system. It's like you never hear of any kind of system to to praise people in prison for doing the right thing. All you have is like good time off for good behavior, and what that means seems to be nebulous and seems to be on the whim of whether or not the review board at a prison likes you or not. Let's see, and I don't think there's a lot of opportunity in the prison system, which I guess I suppose it's a slight passion of mine that I'd like to see the U.S. prison system reformed and several other prison systems around the world reformed to be more rehabilitative and less punitive.
Justice is mine.
But that's not very video game related, so we're moving on. We've got somebody called OMG Man It's Me saying hi. Hi. PC Gamer, let's start going through the news. Has an article, Fallout 76 will have a photo move complete with poses and fancy filters. I don't know where Bethesda's head is at with Fallout 76. In general, I don't know where Bethesda's head is at, period. Clearly the right move here, and this must in some way be a desire to emulate it really has to be a desire to emulate the success of Overwatch. And they're looking at Overwatch and they're saying, well, that's a somewhat in the future sci-fi esports game, and we want to make something similar to that, something successful like that, so let's do Fallout as a MMO, when clearly the right move here would be to do well, I guess Elder Scrolls Legends as an MMO. So I guess they've already done their MMO and now they're trying to double up with a second MMO in the Fallout universe, which is crazy. Really, really crazy. Their only other universe is like Bethesda is Warcraft too, is it? No? That's Activision Blizzard. You have sci-fi and fantasy. I guess maybe there's not really a genre in between those. You could set it in modern day, or just slightly in the future of modern day time. I guess that would work.
Justice is mine.
Job's done.
So yeah, but to just narrow it down to Fallout 76, it seems like it's just ridiculousness. Also, Fallout 76 seems like it may never come to Steam, and it seems like Bethesda is thinking about bringing nothing new to Steam ever again, which I don't know if I really believe that.
Justice is mine.
But it certainly would be interesting if that turned out to be the case. Let's just go ahead and play this. Interesting. And you know what? I could probably just do this too. But I should probably save it. Just end the turn here. Fallout 76, as it's being shown right now, still doesn't feel like it's a game worth playing, and Fallout 4 doesn't feel like it's a game that's playing. So, unless this was some weird situation where Bethesda was actually short on money, for some reason, I have no idea why that would be the case. Yeah, unless Bethesda was short on money and they really had to recoup their efforts on Fallout 4 if they were doing some internal budgeting that was just the wrong way to make video games. It would be definitely getting away from the idea of a tentpole game sometimes funding the flop games. Let's see. Let's see. By the way, I could have done that. There we go. Yeah, if they were doing some kind of budgeting where Fallout properties had to be profitable regardless of whether or not their other properties were profitable, it might make more sense to make Fallout 76. But I guess it's more likely to believe and more believable. That's it for the Americas account. Let me just make sure I don't have any friend requests, and we'll move over to the European accounts. That this really is just an ego thing with somebody at Bethesda. I would assume Talad Howard directly. I'd say that there's just straight up an ego thing where he says we've got to make Fallout 76 good and thus redeem Fallout 4's mediocre reviews. I guess we'll be playing Zoo Warlock for this one. That's alright. Just come over here, switch to standard, and play here. You can see I'm at rank 23 on the European account, so I did get up to rank 20 at least, and I was making progress just right now as I was playing Hearthstone to slowly get more victories. Which Zoo Warlock is it? Let's just say
your soul shall be mine.
One of the, apparently I changed it to Zoo Warlock or something, and my Hearthstone deck tracker app wants to know which one I'm playing. The other thing that where I don't know where Bethesda's head is that they hired a legal team that filed a cease and desist sort of or threat of lawsuit note. I don't even know if it was actually an official cease and desist letter because it seemed like it was very poorly worded against someone who was selling on Amazon's third-party marketplace a sealed copy of The Evil Within 2, which that certainly mars if whenever I get around to playing The Evil Within 2, is now I have to talk about, oh yeah, remember the time that they threatened to sue a guy for selling a sealed copy of that game as a new copy because he wasn't an authorized dealer, and their claim, as best as I can understand it, because it seems like it's ridiculous, is that only being the fact that he's an non-authorized reseller, they won't honor their warranty on the new copy, and thus it is not a new copy even though it's still sealed in the packaging, because they won't honor the warranty that would come with the game for what little warranty that is. Now, I do kind of understand that there might be games out there where they're doing these shenanigans of game passes and codes, and they don't want to deal with people that buy copies of games that are new that have like online passes and such on them that are listed as new, but the online pass has been taken out, or the DLC code or something has been taken out and used. Like, I get that, but that really isn't Bethesda's deal. They just need to train their customer service to go, like, you're gonna have to contact Amazon and ask for a refund, because clearly somebody has done some shenanigans here, and used part of the game content that was in that disc box. And inherently, the only reason why there are game passes and DLC codes printed and put in the boxes is because they're trying to fight used sales. And so this is a extremely insanely roundabout direction in which they are just trying to fight used sales by having the used sales be worse off or perceived as worse off than the new copies, and then also stopping people from selling the new copies. So I don't know why any video game company ever does this. Like, there's never been a successful cease and desist in the video game industry. It just doesn't happen. It makes your company look tone deaf. It makes your company look like a bunch of jerks. There's just better things you can be doing with your time than having lawyers use up their billable hours on suing small people. At the very least, what you should do is compile a case, at least when Nintendo shuts down like Love ROMs or ROM sites. They've got a case there. They say, look, we found millions of copies of our first party titles being shared here, and we are not happy with that at all. But when you make a case and you have millions of copies being sold, that's a lot better. So had they sent a cease and desist to somebody who has this long list of Bethesda titles, like every single Bethesda title and multiple copies of the same Bethesda titles being sold over and over again, let's see, then yeah, at that point it would make a little bit more sense, but that's just not what happened. So yeah, Bethesda's not doing the right things to make themselves look good. The other thing about Bethesda, there's been about like 3 things, so they've just been stepping in it completely, is... What was it? What was that third thing? It is a rainy day if you're hearing that thunder. By the way, outside, it's a thundery rainy day. And I remember what the third thing about Bethesda was. Oh yes, they've kind of confirmed that there will never be another Fallout New Vegas, much, I would say, to the dismay of fans of Fallout New Vegas. So Fallout fans are really just getting it from every direction, because there really is just no good experience to be had with Fallout anymore. Like, you're gonna have Bethesda's Fallout 4 style games, or you're gonna have Bethesda's Fallout 76 style of games. I wouldn't even be surprised if somebody tried to make the argument, and maybe this is true, maybe it isn't, that the team that made Skyrim and made that so popular maybe doesn't even work on Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series anymore, and so those two are kind of probably out the window. But particularly Fallout people, you're in this position where you're never really going to be satisfied, because there basically is no satisfaction to be had. Fallout, if you like Fallout 1 or 2, that's completely a different team that I don't think works for Bethesda anymore. And if you liked Fallout 3, well, clearly the team that made Fallout 3 did not recapture that magic in Fallout 4. And if you like Fallout New Vegas, well, that was a different company that wasn't Bethesda, and now Bethesda said they aren't going to let a new company make any more side stories. So yeah, it's a bad day to be Bethesda. Let's move on though. There was just a lot of Bethesda news. We've got a game. I didn't curate any of this news stuff today, so we may run into some games that are pretty bad quality, but that's fine. We've got an early access game called Flying Soul. It says it's an early access casual adventure racing game. It's a very interesting, like, asset flip looking game. It's very pretty, as most asset flips look now, but it's basic shapes. I will say the basic shapes in this case are like red rings with a lot of reflection and shininess to them, and when you fly through the rings, I think they changed to blue to indicate yes, that's what you're supposed to do. You're flying what looks like a futuristic airplane. It has no propeller and there's no like jet stream coming out of the sides of what look like engines. So there's that. I would imagine the controls on this game are actually pretty awful, and the trailer is just hiding that from me. There really seems to be nothing else you do with this game though. It's 20% off for $1.59. Flying Soul also being a name that is almost certainly designed to be confused with Dark Souls, or in some way feel like it's related to Dark Souls. And this is made from a developer who has made, let's see, 2 other games, both with mixed reviews. So yep, that's a bad game, if I were to guess. PC Gamer has an article. Former Dallas Fuel Overwatch pro XQC suspended again. He might miss the World Cup. He's been caught directing abusive language at other players. It seems like this is Felix XQC. He's been caught directing abusive language to other players, it says. Yeah. Inherently, this all just kind of goes back to what I feel like is a unrealistic level of attention and demands on the esports players. It seems like Dallas or Dallas Fuel is they're trying to make Overwatch very, very family friendly, and because of that, interesting as Shutterwalk didn't work, and so they're coming down really hard. But if you were to compare what I think has been accused of Felix, it never comes out as a story. These stories all have been from PC Gamer, so it seems like they may specifically just hate this guy, or maybe this guy is the worst example they can find. I heard someone describe CNN these days as being not so much a left liberal for the United States channel as much as just a channel that is committed to hate. And in hearing that description, I kind of agree with it. Like, it feels like PC Gamer is kind of just committed to hating esports players. I think when you take a step back and you go, look, how many rugby players say something offensive or awful on the field or offwise, just because there's chat logs in Overwatch, and maybe that's, or it's over recording mics, that's part of the thing. Certainly people should try to be courteous and kind, but there's always been rude people in the world. There always will be. Football players, NBA players, they're all saying horrible things on the field. It's just people aren't hearing them, or the mics aren't turned on, and because of that, I mean, you're just really holding them to a extremely high standards. It feels like kindergarten, frankly. It feels like you're, oh no, you said a naughty word. Oh no, you're not playing nice on this pro level of Overwatch. I kind of want them to talk bad, and more people than you would realize think that's part of the game. That doing the baiting and getting under the skin and playing psychological warfare with other players is part of the game. And that's, I would say, at least half of all pro esports players and all people who play those kind of games. It kind of wraps around to the idea that SJWs in general want to create this world of like censored speech and make everything a safe space. It seems like that's exactly what they're trying to push, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense, really. They're trying to push a world and push the ideas that nobody in any situation, in any career, regardless of their age, regardless of the level of maturity, and first they'll come for the gamers and then they'll come for the games. So don't be surprised as so many games have talked about, we want to get rid of our toxic players and have a good gameplay experience. The next thing that will happen is you'll stop seeing the creators from having the artistic freedom to say, to tell stories that are slightly aggressive or cuss, or even have cussing in it. Like this, that certainly could be the way it goes. Fortunately, at least for the moment, we already talked about it, Germany is now considering video games as art, so it will, on a case-by-case basis, now allow some games that have Nazi symbols and propaganda in them, assuming they are historically accurate or done in the way that they censor the ratings boards. I mean, it's a censorship board. You can call it a ratings board all you want. That's what every freaking censorship board that's ever existed has done. They've said, oh yeah, we're not a censorship board, we're a ratings board, we're just rating them. But by the way, if you get a rating above, if we refuse to rate you, or if you get a rating above a certain level, you can't actually have your game sold in this country. Whether by law or by just fact that no stores will hold any of them in their as their inventory. So yeah, moving on. PC Gamer has a different article. Free Ni no Kuni 2 DLC adds bosses and quests. It's out now. I would like to see Ni no Kuni 1 come to PC, but if you just skipped to Ni no Kuni 2, the Revenant Kingdom Adventure Pack is now available to be played on Steam. Speaking of other Japanese RPGs, it is also worth mentioning, and I don't know how you take it, frankly. You can take it a couple ways. Monster Hunt came out for PC. Monster Hunt World, it came out for PC on Steam, and it was in China on the Steam ripoff Chinese equivalent called WeGame. People for one reason or another, were so unhappy with the game on Wii Game that they complained, or at least it's claimed that people were complaining to the regulators. So, yes, I've seen with my own eyes that the PC version of the PC version of Monster Hunter World is unacceptably buggy. It has frame rate issues. I wouldn't be surprised if people in China in particular don't have the greatest PCs, so they were having a lot of issues. So maybe there was a lot of complaints. On the other hand, this might be an example of just the Chinese government allowing in a Japanese game and then going, oh wait, no, we don't want Japanese games allowed in our country. Let's use our influence, use our government censorship to say, oh yeah, there was a bunch of complaints, and thus because of that, Wii Game takes it down. So you can tinfoil hat it and say it's an anti-Japanese sentiment, or you could take it the more realistic way, and I think I probably would lean more towards the more realistic way. Like on Steam, Monster Hunter World is not doing good either. Inherently, it all falls back to Capcom, I believe is the publisher of Monster Hunter World. It all falls back to that Japanese company. Had they just done a better PC port and not released the game until it ran well and on the variety of systems, and it's not like Monster Hunter is even that visually demanding of a game. It's a little visually demanding, but it's not that visually demanding. So, had they had a good launch, and if it was highly rated with not that many problems, or a reasonable amount of graphical problems in the game on Steam, and then Wii Game took it off because there was these random, undescribed, as far as I can tell, complaints, that would have been something different. But as it is now, I think probably there were legitimate complaints, and Wii Game took it off. I guess it shows also a different level of interest in customer service, because there certainly was no real, it seems like there's no real desire or interest in removing Monster Hunter World on Steam, although there was the Batman game that certainly got taken off Steam, but that was like the first and probably the last time a game will ever be taken off Steam for being just incredibly low quality. Unless you're talking the flood of extremely low quality games that are just troll games or achievement games. PC Gamer has an article. Pete Hines explains why Bethesda blocked resale of a sealed copy of Evil Within 2. It all comes down to the definition of new, apparently. They're trying to redefine new as not new. One argument certainly is that there's no way to tell from any reseller if somebody took a game out of a case and played it and then used a relatively easy to get plastic wrap shrinker to shrink wrap it back into the plastic. There really is no way to tell unless somebody scratches it, unless something else happens to this, unless they use a online pass or something. It really is just, in a lot of ways, it's like the Firewatch situation with PewDiePie, which, I mean, they just, Campo Santo should have just not gotten involved. So many businesses would be better to just not get involved. Like, I am much happier with the way ArenaNet dealt with its problem and just saying, look, we don't want to be involved. We're just gonna fire the employee instead of people getting involved in controversy and then potentially costing their company a lot of goodwill, because it's hard to build goodwill. As for what this article really says, I've already heard it a couple times, so I'm not going to read the entire article or read the article at all. But I've already said the general idea of what's going on. See, I just need to play Warlock cards right now, so I'm trying to win, get to rank 20, get those 5 rank wins, and I think, yeah, I need like 8 more Warlock class cards played. But yeah, I think if I was to start a new business, I would start it with a corporate mandate, a constitution, well, not constitution, they call them charters, of just like, we're gonna avoid drama. I guess the Escapist is doing the right thing, coming back and saying, yeah, we're gonna avoid politics. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good move. Jim Sterling, by the way, came back and said, yeah, he wouldn't be going back to work for the Escapist, which, no duh. Like, I doubt any of the former people that work for the Escapist would having now moved on with their lives, want to come back and do it. But also, I'm not sure I'm gonna find anything that interests me on the Escapist side. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe if their no political claim stays to actually be true, I'll be in an interesting position to.
As you command.
Someone called for the doctor.
Like, I might be in a good position to follow them instead of like rock, paper, shotgun if they report the exact same things. Let's do this.
Face the light.
As you command.
And that. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. Battle Royale is now a standalone game and it launches in early access next month. Battlerite's upcoming Battle Royale mode has now become a standalone game. This is from Stunlock Studios, not Sunken Studios. Battlerite is, I think, a MOBA? I heard of it. Yeah, Battlerite, according to PC Gamer, is an 89 out of 100 MOBA game. Looks like it's kind of a World of Warcraft clone type game. Type characters. And the Battle Royale version does kind of still look like World of Warcraft characters, fantasy characters. So play this or do I want to play that? Let's play this. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. 2D sci-fi RPG Crosscode gets a September 20th release date. Crosscode, I think, is getting a little overhyped, probably by PC Gamer. I felt like Layers of Fear was super overhyped as a game. Speaking of just listing things I think that were overhyped. Let's see, let's play this first. Gematsu has an article. Bandai Namco Summer Horror Project teaser website launched. It seems like it's just like a picture of a creepy house or mansion. The website has meta keywords for zombie and horror. It says, and that's kind of all it seems like that is getting released right now about that. So that's a not news article if I've ever seen one, because there's just nothing to take away from it. PC Gamer has an article. Death Garden is a weird, exhilarating game of lethal hide and seek from the creators of Dead by Daylight. It's kind of weird. Dead by Daylight creators have even managed to make another game, because I didn't think that game succeeded enough for their company to continue. So yeah, in a lot of ways this looks like this is 60% still the same engine and assets as Dead by Daylight. The only difference is now, instead of playing a horror game, you're playing
so many possibilities.
Apparently trap laying game. Let's play this.
I'll get right on it.
Let's do this.
Die, mage.
Free me!
Do this. Let's see. Like, so in this game, what's the name of this game? Death Garden. You play as either the hunter who doesn't have HP or take damage, and you can shoot him with a bow, but shooting the hunter with the bow is actually a terrible idea, because it just tells the player, the hunter, where you are. And so I guess the only real way to
Someone called for the doctor.
the only real way to use the bow is for something else. And then there's like 4 runners, and so the hunter is chasing after these runners. This is still very much an asynchronous gameplay model. They've just slightly changed the weapons, and they've changed the theme. I think getting away from the horror theme probably is the right move, because I could see that there's a small 5 to 10% of people who wouldn't have wanted to play Dead by Daylight that might be willing to play this.
Time's up. Let's do this.
But yeah, it really feels like this is just their last gasp. They may have already had something like this in development and they were going to add it to Dead by Daylight, but instead they made it its own side thing. Yeah, Death Garden doesn't strike me as super interesting as a game, so plus it's a multiplayer only game anyway, so I wouldn't have to play it myself. Anyways, and I think this is the right place to break up this recording, because I don't have a ton of news. Unless this just drags on, which it might. I don't think I have a ton of news, plus I don't think I really have a ton of daily quests to do either, which is fine by me. More time to potentially get back to playing more Halloween games. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me even further, friend me on Steam, gift me a game. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.